Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. As always, it's me and Kieran, and we're joined by a very special guest, Reds Perreira. Reds, thank you so much for joining us. A voice synonymous with West Indies cricket, which we really appreciate you taking time to come on the show. You've seen the rise, you've seen the demise. Where do you see the current situation with West Indies cricket at this moment in time?
Well, I think the defeat by Australia, which was so embarrassing, the pre-test matches, which included lowest score by us, second to New Zealand, 26. The loss of the five T20s, there's a lot of questions being asked. Whether, in fact, you will see maybe the West Indies board really reconsidering what has been a bit of an experiment with no selectors, an experiment with one coach handling all three areas of cricket: white ball, 50 over, 20 over, test cricket. And the Kohli seemed to have had a pretty good job, but they felt that Sammy was the kind of personality, former player, might have been able to put together a side that could compete. It looked good on paper, but I think there was a lot of questions to be asked about many areas.
Reds, do you think that obviously someone that has seen, as Jordan mentioned, the rise of West Indies cricket through the 60s, the 70s, the glory days of the 80s, do you think that it is just a problem with the players on the field, or is it an administrative problem? Is it a problem with the management staff, the current coaching staff? What is your sixth sense telling you, having experienced all of this cricket over these years?
Kieran, I think you touched on all the points. I think that it's manifold. Our first class season is just not good enough. It's not the kind of first class season that you played in as a young man. It's the shortest first class season in the world. Shortest first class season in the world, and the season is not sponsored, so it's a tremendous drain on the West Indies coffers. The white ball entry into the world of cricket has affected us more than any other nation because we have smaller numbers of players. India, Pakistan, Australia, New Zealand, although New Zealand is a small population, they still have a lot more resource in players. We just don't have. I mean, Afghanistan has got more depth. Bangladesh has got more depth. When our players start to go off to the white ball offers, which is a fact of life. I mean, players have got to look at their financial future, and we don't have that. Mix. So where players will have an interest in white ball will also make themselves available. For example, in Australia, players who made themselves unavailable. The question of one coach does not work, and I think that's very clear by the results. Whether the board will change that, we just have to wait and see. They might not want to change that because it will be a bit of a calm down. Yeah. But if something is not working, you quickly, bring the vehicle to a halt, change the gears, and make a start. And there is a demand for change. There's a huge cry. A lot of the former players are speaking out. Clive Lloyd has called for a total new structure. Andy Roberts is calling for the board to resign. Brian Davis has been saying that there's no organization. I mean, many of the former players have come out. It's how the board will respond to a very critical stage of our career. Our players technically look flawed. They are better than they have produced, but I don't believe they're getting the right technical help, and that's one reason. The preparation for Australia, I don't think, was good enough. I think we spent too much time focusing on the white ball in England. In fact, in the last week or so, Daren Sammy had to curtail going to Ireland and rushing back.
Yeah.
So we could have had 12 days of preparation. You can't play Australia in 12 days. After the 4-day competition, should have had the Weeks versus Headley 4-day competition as a test trial, right? Yep. And the board should have had the very guy who was handling the test squad. Maybe it took have focused on the preparation, so when Daren Sammy came, he could have hit the road running. That didn't happen, and I think we paid the price. We paid the price. I mean, I would say that the conditions were a little bowler friendly, and Australia don't need that. But our batting, just didn't fight. Just didn't have a clue. We didn't seem to be able to deny the good deliveries and wait for the baddish deliveries, which there were a few of them, to try and put it away. The bowling held its own. I mean, Seals, Joseph, with the backup bowlers held their own. I mean, we bowled Australia for very low scores.
Yeah.
But the batting was just putrid. The batting, and it begs the question whether Reefer is the best person. I mean, the track record doesn't really say that. So you have these hard decisions to make. Should we go for an international batting coach? Should we go for a white ball staff against a separate red ball staff? Because I know the ball is only 5.5 ounces, but it's a different game. It's a different color. Yeah. White ball cricket isn't test cricket. Test cricket is the real test.
Yeah.
Reds, do you think that it is maybe a societal thing in the Caribbean at this point in time, or a cultural thing where, obviously the younger people sort of go for an instant type of gratification, obviously the money now, accessing all the money now, as opposed to maybe having more of a fine balance where you see countries like Australia, as you mentioned, where these guys do go off and play in their respective leagues, but they still make themselves fully available to play for their countries. Like, why is it that the West Indies is not able to strike that balance as well?
We just don't have that approach. All over the world, you see people opting out of white ball tournaments. People saying, sorry, I wouldn't go to IPL this year. I want to concentrate in my game. We just don't have that. We don't have the depth in players. But, realistically, Caribbean society has changed. The world is changing so fast, it isn't funny. When I was growing up, 11 out of 10 boys wanted to play for the Leewards, wanted to play for the Windies, wanted to play for Barbados, Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica. That has changed now. School cricket has gone through the adults. The kind of school cricket that produces the Laras and the Hoopers and that generation. In some countries, there is no school cricket, which which is a feeder. Our girls, for example, are learning the game much too big. We do not have cricket among our secondary school girls. They play netball, they play basketball, they swim, they run track, they play volleyball. They do not play any cricket at the secondary schools. The girls have to find a boys' club, and that's how they're coming on. Trinidad is only the member state of the Caribbean that have 6 girls' clubs. I repeat, 6 girls' clubs. Barbados is now trying, through Roland Butcher, to have a real dynamic attraction of young people 13 and 14. So unless we get structures in place, I don't see that our women are going to compete. I mean, you look at on the 19 girls in the World Cup. It was sad to watch them. And the other players were so far developed because they started 5 years younger. Society, as I said, has changed. I mean, the internet is there. The opportunities for people to earn money in different areas. It's not an easy time. It's not an easy time at all.
So do you think that CWI, in collaboration with the respective Caribbean governments, is there anything that they can do to save West Indies cricket, or are we doomed to perish and look at yesteryear as the glory times?
Well, I really believe that the CARICOM subcommittee, made up of, I think, the president of Guyana, the Barbados Prime Minister, I think the St. Kitts Nevis First Minister or Prime Minister, they need to meet the West Indies Board. The West Indies Board has got to meet with the leaders of the Caribbean, because cricket belongs to the people. Cricket belongs to the people. And unless there is that spirit of, okay, let's look at what has gone wrong for a long time, for a long time. How can we improve it? What changes we need to make? Unless you have that opening of thought, opening of discussion, right? And it's not we against them, as the case may be. But the leewards and windwards, they probably will say that they suffer probably the worst because of lack of finance. How can they fund their development? I mean, Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, it's one island, one country. You get on a train, you get on a bus, and you get to the respective venues. As you know well, Kieran, leewards, a lot of traveling, which is the cost. Hotels is the cost. So by the time you concentrate on putting your camp together, whether it's on the 15 or on the 19 or the senior competition, and we are not getting the slice of the cake from the ICC as we should be getting. The ICC, the cake is divided between India, England, and Australia. And there is a feeling that the ICC really cares about they call them minnows, or about like the smaller countries. Whether we will see this happening in conjunction with the two-tier system. The two-tier system is coming. But what is important to the two-tier system is that there must be schedules where the bottom tier can still play against the top tier. So West Indies can still play England, West Indies can still play Australia, they can still play New Zealand, they still play Pakistan, the case may be. You can't have two tiers like, a Premier League in England and Division One. You've got to make it a situation where there is more sharing of the resources so the infrastructure can get better, so that the member boards of the CDPI can get more money, and so that there can be some substantial kind of development. Right now, things are just not good for the smaller members of the ICC.
When I was growing up, I could remember there was so much more cricket being played, whether it is at, as you mentioned, the school levels, the club level, the inter-island level, from a Leeward Islands perspective, obviously. And there was a lot less money involved in the game. Now, I know you said, and it's widely known, the West Indies and other nations, other smaller nations, aren't getting as much as they should from the ICC. But do you think that the West Indies are doing enough, or are the Caribbean governments doing enough to self-fund? Do you not think that we could sort of use, for example, our legends, create a legends group that travels around the world and talk at dinners and, all these other things? You have the more recent legends, the guys that won the T20 World Cups, they can go and play charity matches and raise funds, or, go on tours and do different things like that. You've got sports investment groups buying football teams left, right, and center, with the Caribbean being just a stone's throw away from the US. Are we doing enough to help ourselves?
Well, let's take secondary schools. Secondary schools is not the responsibility of the board. Secondary schools is the responsibility of the
government.
Of the governments.
Yes.
So that can be a focus in any kind of a discussion. Where is the structure which produced so many great players? So many great players. I mean, we won the under-19 World Cup on the headfire.
Yes.
But have those players been brought on, so to speak? No. We just don't have enough A tours.
Nope.
We just don't have enough A tours.
No.
And we mustn't have A tours against Zimbabwe. Not that I'm throwing my nose down in Zimbabwe. It must be a mix. You have to play the New Zealanders and South Africa and Australia and India.
Yeah.
Or else you aren't going to develop your players.
Yeah.
As far as the legends are concerned, well, Kieran, we have to be realistic. The legends are moving on in age, and we don't have the same kind of ex-players of Australia got sort of not knocking around, but around. England's got tremendous resources. India's got, all their ex-players. But they've been talking about using the ex-players. I would think that, an Andy Roberts or an Ambrose could help our fast bowlers a great deal. I would think that a Desmond Haynes or a Dujon, a Logie or a Hooper could help our batsmen technically. But will that happen? All of a sudden, when we lost against Australia, see they called up Clive Lloyd, Brian Lara, Sir Vivian Richards. You got to call them before the disaster sets in, not after it happens. The thing is manyfold. And I think the transparency of the board must improve. The transparency of the board is much improved. Cricket matters must be dealt with cricket people in the board, not administration who never bowled the ball or who never scored a run. I don't know if the cricket committee is in fact really active. The cricket committee used to be 6. The cricket committee was changed to 16. That seems to be top heavy. Whether it's meeting or not, I do not know. I do not know. The academy in Antigua used to be headed by someone who was plucked by Ireland. And the present head of the academy, I don't believe have a track record of a great coaching background, more of an administrator. So, you have to ask questions about the appointments. I think that our backroom staff for white ball needs to be changed almost totally. I'm not happy with the fielding. I'm not happy with the fitness. I'm not happy with the batting. And there's so many things to be fixed, so to speak. It isn't a very simple problem. We're really set back. And we can't go to India and New Zealand, which is our next two tours, without some major structural changes.
So just one more thing from me, Reds, before Jordan jumps in. You'd have seen, as I said, the rise of West Indies cricket. You'd have lived through the high times. Now seeing the state or the current state of affairs of West Indies cricket, could you explain to people, someone that's had such a hands-on interaction with West Indies cricket over such a long period of time, what does it really mean? Not just the game, but what it means to West Indian people, not only in the West Indies, but around the world. What does West Indies cricket really mean to you?
Well, it was part of my life. Cricket kept the West Indies people together where the Federation didn't. Cricket has held the West Indies together. It is sometimes the greatest unifying force, and sometimes when the chips are down, it can be the decisive force, people don't like to lose. And, we can't win World Cups. We can't win European championships. The one thing that, we are very capable of winning is track and field, mainly from the Jamaicans. And late you have Julian Alfred from St. Lucia, probably the best female sprinter in the world. But cricket is so meaningful to the Caribbean people because, we started playing in 1928. By the middle 30s, we were starting to actually compete against Australia. And, the war came and robbed us of 7 years. So a guy like George Headley only played 22 test matches. And, the performance of the West Indies in 1950, politicians started to think of independence. They gave them that kind of spirit to think of independence. They belated leadership of Frank Worrell in Australia in 61 really showed the world that we can save West Indies cricket. We can save world cricket. And we did. Recently, during COVID, West Indies saved world cricket, and we didn't earn too much from it. When we sent players under those very dangerous conditions to get the game to come back onto the English fields. Because we went, there was cricket once more, under strict conditions, of course, because of the COVID. Because we went, Pakistan came. Because we went, Australia came. So our contribution to saving world cricket after COVID, we haven't really benefited financially. England should have paid for an A tour to the West Indies. England should have paid an A tour West Indies going to England. That should have been their thank you to us. You know what we got? We got a third test match in Grenada when England toured. I don't believe that the Caribbean has been well treated, to be very honest, by the world body. But we are also responsible for our own demise. And I would like to see if that meeting of minds come off, that we admit that the experiment that we tried has not worked. The questions could be asked about the director of cricket. Is he experienced enough? Did he play enough first-class cricket? That's cricket. You look at the experiment where McCullum is the head of the England squad. Look at the resources he's got. Look at the facilities he's got. Look at the players that he can pull in. And the various bowling and batting he can have. Anderson or wrong, as the case may be. We have not used our players. Ambrose is not coaching. Walsh is not coaching. Haynes is not coaching. Greenwich is not coaching. Hooper is too far, maybe, for the West Indies to afford Hooper. Gus Logie is in the Cayman Islands, twiddling his thumb. He should be involved in West Indies cricket. The problem is huge. And, it's like Brazil. People are saying Brazil will never be the same Brazil with Pelé and Garrancha and Bava and Tastao, all those great players. Maybe we will never be great again unless there's a huge amount happening at the grassroots level. Barbados have just started what they've called a block-by-block system, trying to get people to come and play. I think it's headed by Courtney Brown, right? And the government is trying to simply get the numbers up. Club cricket in the Caribbean is just not the same when you play. The clubs are not as strong as they used to be. You take Spartan in Barbados, that the club of David Halford and Philo Wallace, that's hardly existing. So the club structure, and the club structure is weak in football. The club structure is weak in basketball. The club structure is weak generally. So unless there is a focus on the club structure, where there's a playing arm and an administration arm, you aren't going to have the matured structure of making clubs strong, make strong boards. Strong boards make a strong West Indies cricket. And, I don't know what's going to happen. We just wait to see whether being bowled out for 27 is going to bring about, it's like, if England get beat 10-0 in the World Cup, the future might have changed as well. Maybe 27 is the equivalent of 10-0.
I know I said that was my last question, but something as drastic as 27 and then an emergency meeting being called, but then it still hasn't happened yet. You've had a completion of a T20 series. How much of an emergency is that really?
Just a reaction. They had to say something, and that was that. Call a meeting. Well, there was a meeting before with Brian Laren, the South African coach, when we didn't do well in Australia. We never, and there have been so many meetings of on reports which have stacked up, and there's been no follow-up action. I'm looking forward to the possibility, as I said at the start of our discussion, KP, that the CARICOM Prime Ministers, CARICOM Heads Cricket Committee will meet with the board and say, hi, it's time maybe for us to relook the path that you have chosen, and whether we should not go back to the things that have worked for us. We had selectors since 1928. Selectors has picked some great players, some great teams. The selectors, who picked Chanjapal, who picked Holding, who picked Marshall. I can go on for the next half an hour.
Yeah.
I'm not a prophet of doom. I mean, I still try and stay close to the game, but I'm not too sure where we are going. Where we're going. We can't go to India without some real changes around the team and the team itself. I mean, I think you look at the 16 that we choose against Australia. Where was Hodge? We got 100 in England. Where was Hodge? I mean, we had a vice captain who could hardly have made the team. We never lengthened the batting, let's say, by allowing Hope to concentrate on his batting. I mean, he kept wicket and then was batting at number 4, number 5. He could have brought Imlach in. I mean, the bowling held its own. Can we build from that? And KP, you are an opening batsman. The cupboard is very bare in the opening quarter. You think of Bradford going out at 32. I don't believe your colleague from St. Kitts maybe has got the skills to do well at the highest level. Chanjapal seemed to have gone off the rails. He's young enough to come back. He's not quite good in Australia against him. But, the cupboard is bare. The cupboard is bare. You're not too sure where people are committed, where people are more committed, For example, Jason Holder was not included in the Australian tour. A lot of questions.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm conscious that obviously we kept you for quite a while. So I just want to say to finish, thank you for speaking so openly and so honestly about the current situation, because, like we said at the very start of it, you've seen the rise and now you're seeing this, and it's quite harrowing when you say that, there may never be great again. And it's such a shame for you to believe and potentially say something like that. So I do appreciate your honesty and speaking so openly.
It's almost sad for me to say that.
Yeah, it's hard for you to say, imagine.
I watched the West Indies since 1953.
Yeah.
And I've always said I was lucky to born in 1939 because I saw the end of the W's, and then I saw the Sobers Kanai, but just see one nurse period and beyond when they changed to Lloyd in India in 1974, and we had that young team emerging.
Yeah.
Which held together to win the World Cup in 75, And we beat Australia in 79 in Australia. But
great time.
I'm not a historian, so let me just thank you for the opportunity of having me.
No, we've loved listening to you. I really have, and I really appreciate it.
Reds, and from me personally, as someone that's played the game as well, I think what we're doing here now is trying to, I guess, get different voices and understand from different perspective, different angles of West Indies cricket. Your coverage of West Indies cricket, your knowledge about the game, I think that it should be utilized a lot more. It's heartwarming for me as a player as well to hear, I guess, the passion that someone like you has for the game, and obviously the history, the knowledge of the game, the amount of time that you've seen West Indies cricket as well. So thank you so much for taking your time out to come on this platform. I really appreciate it, and hopefully the people or the powers that be take at least one thing that we said from today and try and implement that into rectifying what is left of West Indies cricket.
And what's also changing, the language of the game. I mean, the language of the game is been affected by the shorter format. I mean, the language you use in Test cricket. I mean, I'll give you one example. You're hearing about a grab, a great grab. Oh, well, I mean, you grew up hearing of specialists at the gully and specialists at short leg, like sobers and like, things like that. Now we're hearing people taking a great grab. Oh, as an oldster, that really, all you don't hear but slow delivery. You hear pace off and pace on. Long levers. They don't say that Powell has got long hands. Use it well, soft hands. You hear but levers. And maybe I'm just showing my age, but I believe
No,
that
I
the
get
lang-
it.
the language of Test cricket has changed.
That was absolutely brilliant. That then, as me and you spoke off air prior to this, in terms of obviously the rise and the demise and seeing the decades, and then for him to come out with something like we may never be great again, and you could tell it genuinely. He meant that, and it was like felt from hurt, really, and it was such a shame for him to hear something like that come out of his mouth. Really, it was sad.
I mean, just looking at his whole demeanor,
Yeah,
the way he spoke, you could feel the passion coming through.
yeah, full body language,
His
like you said.
yeah, it was good,
Mhm.
but it was tough as well. So you know, I'm just hoping that we're creating a platform in which the administrators um, take, I guess, take heed to what
Yeah,
what our viewers are
yeah,
saying, to what we're saying, and
yeah.
hopefully we see a few things being implemented that can potentially go a long way towards making West Indies cricket better.
Well, that's it. And ultimately, people who are coming on here and speaking, they're speaking because they care. They're speaking about, you know, and they're explaining it because of the reasons behind it. So you're talking about, Reds there mentioned about the government, how they need to get involved from a school perspective. It's something that me and you previously spoke about. It's not something that's discussed in the open and in the media as such. And it is these things, all these little bits need to be addressed. And one of the questions I wanted to ask him was, when did me and you spoke about does it mean a lot anymore to play for the West Indies? And what does it mean to represent the West Indies now? And he obviously touched on it where he was saying that the likes of England players and Australia players, they'll miss the IPL to then say, right, I'm going to miss the IPL this time because I've got a series against India, like Harry Brook did, for instance. Missing the IPL, I want to concentrate on becoming white ball captain. So that's that. If anything, it's always the other way with the West Indies players. They miss the series to concentrate on the IPL. And I wanted to ask him really, when did that change? When did the other priority, when did everything else become a priority? Was it the financial situation and the change in 20, or was it bubbling in the background before? I don't really
Well,
know.
I think he did answer that. I think it was when all of that financial stuff came in. But what's interesting to me is it's pretty much only a handful of West Indian players currently going for big money in the IPL.
Yeah,
It's not like guys are making life-changing figures. No, then again, I don't know what's life-changing for someone. I don't know what someone's situation
yes,
is.
yes,
But um, you know, it's not even that it's just a situation where it's the IPL. It's pretty much T20
as a whole,
leagues
yeah, as a whole, yeah,
as a whole. It's a holistic thing where
yes,
you
yeah,
find guys going off to whatever league as opposed to representing the West Indies, and then that's where it sort of becomes a
yeah,
tricky situation.
yeah.
So I
But
don't know. That
no,
was
I know. It's just you, I think we had him there for 40 minutes, and it's like you blink, and you've had a half an hour chat with him, and you because I was just so engrossed in terms of what he was saying and how he was speaking about it, and like we keep saying about so passionately and openly about it, because these things, it's not something that can be fixed overnight. We know that. We know it's not something that's can be. There's so many different bits that are just not aligning to making the success something that once was, basically. And I don't know. Sad. It's sad to see the situation it's in at the minute.
ladies and gentlemen, let us know who you want
Yeah.
as our next featured guest. We've got some
do.
very good guests lined up. It's obviously great hearing from such a wide casted net of speakers in terms of what is happening with West Indies cricket right now, and what could be done to fix it. So please do like, comment, share, subscribe, repost, post, whatever it is. Get this out there to as many people as possible.
Definitely.
We'll keep the content coming.
Yeah. Thank you very much again for joining us on another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. And I exactly echo what Kieran was saying. Like, subscribe, and thank you very much. Speak to you all soon.